been here for 6.5 days working on a project which has no specific outcome in mind, but it's about me in the environment, setting myself tasks. Some of these seem quite trivial, quite pointless, but it's about being busy, it's about working, and it's about having some kind of exchange with an environment. This residency was quite a draw for me because it was an opportunity to work not necessarily within a studio. The studio's there if I want it, but it's a beautiful environment, diverse environment that I could place myself within. And also because I didn't have specific outcomes in mind, and there was no pressure from Body Surf Scotland for that, that suited me just fine. I started off last week actually with an ecologist out on a field trip, Tim, and he's working on the Bewley-Denny power line, and I really wanted to go out with him, but slightly in anticipation of being on my own for 2 weeks. So it was slightly about company, but it was also about seeing someone else that's working often on their own, with quite a strong purpose to their work, quite clear objectives, but very physical, and just seeing if there was some way I could kind of transpose from that experience of working with him, transpose that into my activity in these 2 weeks, and I think it's been quite helpful. I spent quite a lot of time out in the woodland nearby. It's an area that I sort of stumbled upon, earlier on last week, and I found myself kicking tree stumps and sitting on the ground against trees wondering what I was doing, and I actually had a lot of thoughts going on about why I'm an artist and why do this, what are my aims, and what is it that I'm actually interested in. And I ended up finding ways of occupying myself so that I was trying to relieve myself from these thoughts in a way. So I came up with all sorts of curious ways of interacting with the physical environment. Part of what drew me to this space was its seclusion. I wasn't going to be bothered by people. Have people looking through a window or a studio door, or walking past with dogs. That's quite important. It seemed like it was already a kind of a space that people in the past had been exploring and doing things with, in terms of stacking wood or building little shelters, and there are traces and evidence of that all around. And so I was setting about to do my own work, which is could be quite strange on the surface, but actually I have my own purpose, and I have my own reasons for doing it. It's about this sort of physical interaction that to me feels essential. It's kind of task based. It has a clear aim within each action. That's not progressed too much, but I think my understanding of what could be interesting to watch in performance has changed, and I think I've reflected upon what I've been doing a lot and come to the conclusion that actually it can be interesting to watch very simple things that aren't typically virtuosic. I like to work quite spontaneously, and my studio is like my garden shed, and you know, my backyard, and to an extent that's been brilliant here because I don't have to be in the studio all the time, you know, and it's kind of there's a great environment to explore and reflect. At the same time though, any residency period, I think, even if the institution or the organisation offering it isn't asking for much, you can still sometimes put pressure on yourself because there's a start point and there's an end point. And I felt that a little bit of pressure, probably more on myself than from other people. I found the best way to deal with it was just to try and keep myself busy doing something. And that probably comes across partly in the nature of what you see. It's the performance of it, I suppose, is very committed, and it's very sort of single-minded. It's not necessarily clear what's going on, but I've just set about doing tasks that would occupy my body, and I eventually found that I would get somewhere, and I think that's produced. I think there's something in that. I think there's something in that to be watched. It's curious.